Can anyone catch them, do you think?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, unbelievable. We didn't expect that.
As unbelievable as it sounds, this is another Arsenal podcast. That is the Away Gooners podcast. We bring news and reaction from Arsenal fans from all over the world.
Hi all, welcome to another episode of FPL Fantasy Podcast. We have Gagan in the call today. He's an Arsenal fan and he was in the 50k range in the last edition of FPL. So welcome Gagan to the podcast. Hope
Thanks, Adam.
all the butterflies are flying in your stomach with this new season starting.
I mean, usually I put a lot of thought before the FPL season starts. And what happens is I have my initial draft and then I have like 10 more drafts after that. And finally I settle for a team. And then after 2 game weeks, I would kind of think that, oh my God, I think the first draft that I did 2 months back, that was probably the best one. So this time I have refrained from that. This time, this is after getting the default team, I think this is the first kind of draft that I have done. All this time, I have always taken into account what other people are doing, what are the trends, and which players are hot right now. All of those things. But yeah, this is like my kind of first draft, and this time I'm just going with my gut feelings for the first draft and just trying to stick with it, not make too many changes before the game week 1. So yeah.
In short, like you're trying to say, like I won't do an early wildcard.
I am trying to avoid it, but
happens. It happens. Like I have done in 3rd or 4th weeks many times.
Yes. For me, it is always somewhere between game week 3 to game week 6 when I play my wild card. Because what I feel is at the start of the season, there are a lot of things, right? The teams are not settled. The managers do not know which is the correct formation for the team, what is working for them, what is not. There are new players coming in who are not yet ready for the start of the season. So let's say, for example, Sancho, Lukaku, all of those people. So 3-4 game weeks down the line, you sort of get to know what is a settled 11, and then you can have a better understanding of what your team should be looking like. Maybe if you are I always try to stay close to the template, but not exactly have all the players from the template. Always try to have a few differentials here and there. But then if you drift too far apart from the template and you want your team to be only differentials, then that also creates a problem. That's like a huge risk and reward strategy.
Yeah. But that's a very high risk one. Just to give an example, last time many people didn't take Salah, and but close to 70% of people who had Salah made as captain, and he got some huge score. And having differentials and is good. But sometimes when you don't pick a huge people who has been in more than 50% of the team, they might not always gain much, but when you lose, you lose big when you don't have That's the problem. With the differentials, you gain very little. But again, if the differentials click and you have the common template people, how you said, then in that case, the differential can help you with a big green arrow too. So it's always how we manage them. That's the interesting part, the fun part, for me at least.
Correct. Yeah. So basically, have your team more or less centered around the template, but then have 2 or 3 players whom you feel that could provide that extra spark or extra points to your team. So I got lucky with Gundogan last time around. I picked him at his base price. Just when he had, I think there was 1 game week in which he scored, and I immediately picked him up, and then he his price went through the roof. So those sort of punts, again, I'm just looking forward to making a few more punts like that this season. But my team, you could say that it is pretty close to what a template team would be.
Yes, except for 1 or 2 guys, it's very close. Sanchez was in template, but that got changed. But again, it's another 4.5 goalie. Everybody was with Sanchez initially. Why they dropped Sanchez later was the backup goalie was also 4.5. Whereas for Watford, both Foster and the other guy, Backman, they were all 4.5 and 4. That's why the template moved to Watford goalies. or else it was Burnley goalies only because like they were expecting them to have more points. But that is
Correct.
actually like something like of interest to me when I see your team. Like you have Sanchez and you have Foster. Like, see, I agree. Like Sanchez had a 4.5 and a 4.5, but the other guy, right, like 4.5 guy, if you see like the Sherpan guy, like he is injured at the moment with like no like clarity on when he'll be back. The return date is
Correct.
unknown at the moment. So Steele is the
Correct.
backup at the moment, who's like 4. So why do you
Yes.
have taken Foster instead of Steele? See, I can understand why you take Foster out of all the 4.0 if you're having a premium, because like out of all the other players, Foster is the only one who can get a chance to play compared to others.
Right.
So that's why like
Correct.
we go for that guy when we have a premium. But when you have a 4.5 and a 4, right? Like why are we going to Foster instead of Steele?
To answer that, when for me, for like I never either I go for, usually somewhere down the line I will go for 2 4.5 rated goalkeepers. Right now I could not afford that. Earlier I had that, actually I had 2 4.5
Rotating
rated
goalers.
goalkeepers, and I had Robertson instead of Trent. But then, like, my thinking is, if Sanchez, I mean, goalkeepers usually don't get injured very frequently, and if at all that does happen, I'll just simply, for that game week, I'll have to, take Sanchez out and bring another 4.5 goalkeeper in, which there is like abundance of such goalkeepers. By that time, we'll know how Crystal Palace are performing in defense, how Watford is performing in defense.
Agreed.
Watford, they have a very good run of fixtures at the start. My only concern is because they are, again, their manager is very new to the Premier League. He probably, that there'll be he is very inclined towards having a good defensive system. But again, I just want to like wait and watch on the Watford defensive resources for the time being. Otherwise, this thing would, again, I would probably move Sanchez to Backman, and then, instead of Ben White or someone, I'll bring in Watford right back, Tariq Lamptey, once he is fit again. So that is the plan.
Brighton right back, right? Not Watford.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, Brighton right back. So I'll just get in a Brighton defender, and then I'll move Sanchez to Backman. So that is the plan as of now. I have decided to go with Sanchez. I mean, obviously there were a few goalkeepers within that price range to consider. There was Darlow. I think Gaeta is injured right now. So there's Darlow. Then there is Backman. There was Gaeta. So there were a few goalkeepers, but given given Brighton's defensive, setup, and also their record in the previous season, I think Sanchez has a good shot stopping record also. So because that's the only reason why I've gone for him.
No, Sanchez is a best pick. Sanchez is like, say, as I said, right, like even every template
a safe pick, if you can say so.
Yeah, for 4.5, he's the best pick. Let's put it that way. Like other than Sanchez, if you want to go, you have to go to the premiums. Go over it, like 5 or 5.5 or 6. So Sanchez is like a safe bet. So that is like the only issue is like with you could have gone with Steele, like just to be on the safer side. See, the reason why people say is like because of COVID and other things, right? We don't know who will not play. But then there's a counter argument too, like say if a goalkeeper, right? They are all generally together. So if one goalkeeper gets COVID or related things, the other people are also naturally impacted. So like even that argument might not hold that good. So I'm okay with your selection. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I sort of look at it a little differently. So I am thinking like, what if Backman gets injured instead, or what if like he is out for a while? Obviously, Foster is the person who comes in. So then I have 2 goalkeepers to rotate between now.
Yes,
instead of having just 1 goalkeeper, I now have 2 goalkeepers to choose from. So that is the reason. If at all Sanchez is out for a reason, I'll go ahead and replace him. So that is my thinking that ways. Usually I don't go with 2 goalkeepers from the same team. So yeah.
No, that is true. Like say, not only injured, like if he's running out of like an out of form, or like he's making a lot more mistake. Foster is an experienced guy compared to the other 4.0 players. So yeah, we have people like Begovic, but like Foster has more chances of like replacing Backman, like compared to the other 4.0 guys. So your strategy is actually good in that sense. let's come to your defenders. Like I could understand why you have taken like Tsimikas, like the new like sensation with like Robertson getting injured. So definitely, and like it's not like say even if he's going to play 3 or 4 weeks, right? Like there are high chances for him to get a clean sheet. Reason being, like the very first game is against Norwich, who's having like most of the main team like out with COVID. Like even the pre-friendlies, right? Like pre-season friendlies, like they were trying to form like a team of 11 players. They are having difficulties even in getting that. So that was the situation they were having. So like game week 1, they might have like even if the team is there like with like less practice or like less fit, like that kind of a team only they'll be putting it on. So there are more chances, and like that's a good thing. Like many people are now going because instead of some other 4.0 defender, right? You have got a playing defender who can get clean sheet at least for a few game weeks. And after that, even if he doesn't play, like he's going to be in bench and like he's not going to like lose money for you because he's just 4.0.
Yeah, actually, I mean, obviously, when it comes to Tsimikas, it is in the long run, it could be sort of a double-edged sword. Why I'm saying that is obviously he'll be starting the games. I think Robertson is out for around 6 weeks. Yes. So he'll be starting like at least 4 game weeks is what I'm thinking. Now there could be 2 things that could happen. One is he starts performing very well. Liverpool keep a few clean sheets. Maybe he gets an assistant somewhere in between and his price shoots up. So that is where my team's value goes up. The other thing could be that he performs average. Liverpool don't have that many clean sheets as expected. And he remains at 4.0. Then Robertson comes in and his price starts dropping because a lot of people have him in his team. And as soon as Robertson is in, people start replacing Tsimikas. So his price starts dropping. So that is somewhere like around game week 4 and 5. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. That I should not be losing any money on Tsimikas. So that is what I am a little wary of. But other than that, yeah, he's like, before this I had Amate, but then with Vestergaard coming in, obviously Amate loses his place in the team. So there's no point having him. So Tsimikas, obvious choice for 4. I think great value for money. Probably like should be in almost, I think, every team for the time being.
And like with respect to Alexander-Arnold, Shah and Kofel, they are like straight picks. Most of you can say even template picks. One is like some people take Cresswell instead of Kofel because Cresswell is also in set pieces more. So they go for that. But like with a 0.5 saved there, right? You can use that anywhere else like to make your team stronger. So many people like have gone to Kofel at least this season compared to last season. And then like why White?
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll just go with Kofel for like Kofel versus Cresswell. So there are 2 reasons why I picked Soufal. Soufal basically, one obvious reason is that he is 0.5 cheaper as compared to Cresswell. The other thing is if West Ham, when they start playing in the 5-2-3 sort of formation, that is when Soufal and what's the other guy who plays as a left wing back for them, Masuaku. So those people are the 2 who actually bombard forward, while Cresswell sort of he slots in more as a left center back. So if you look at chances created from open play, Soufal has more chances created from open play as compared to Cresswell. But obviously, Cresswell has the upper hand when it comes to set pieces. So for the 0.5, I would say both would probably score even. But then, yeah, he's 0.5 cheaper, so I just went for him.
Yeah, like say 0.5 can make a big difference in some other areas. Say for example, like Magalhaes and Havertz, there's a difference of 0.5, like which is a huge difference, like in the other areas. But why White out of all the 4.5? The Arsenal fan in you make them pick it, or like?
No, not really. I mean, I think for the past 2 or 3 years, I don't think I have had any Arsenal defenders given the state of the Arsenal defense. But I think it has improved considerably from what I've seen in the past year. That Arsenal's defense, they have become a little more miserly when it comes to leaking in goals.
Yeah, I think they were the third least in the last season, right?
Correct. Yes. So that is one reason. The other reason is there is no other team apart from Tsimikas right now. There's no other premium team which has a defender at this value. So and Arsenal have terrific fixtures. The first 10 game weeks, I think they have just 2 difficult game weeks. The rest of it is pretty much, I think out of the first 10 game weeks, there is a chances that they'll be keeping a clean sheet in probably 5 of them. So they might not score a lot, but yeah, they could keep a clean sheet in probably like 5 or 6 of them. So that is why I got Ben White in. Yeah.
Actually, I am also of the same opinion. Only difference is like I have a 0.5 left in my team. I can even like move Semesters to White after game week 4. So like the tough pictures of Ben White would have been over, and I would get Ben White after that. So
yes, yeah, I think that is also a great strategy.
That's something like I'm thinking on. Like, but like again, that 0.5 can go anywhere, anytime. So it's not like this thing, but like that is something running in my mind too. Actually, like I also like the Ben White pick. Rightly, as you said, like out of the big teams, right? Like he's the only one with 4.5.
Yeah.
Or all others are like
you won't even get a goalkeeper for 4.5 out of any big team. So this becomes like an obvious pick. Also, he has very, a very good Arsenal and Manchester United have like a very good fixture sort of combo. So whenever Arsenal have tight fixtures, Manchester United sort of have easier fixtures. So there is, if at all, I mean, I wouldn't want to keep Shaw on bench, but I have done that in the first game week itself. So if at all, like there is a need to put Shaw on the bench, then I think Ben White comes in like seamlessly, gets into the team.
Why Shaw on bench on first week? Like, are you thinking like he won't start? He started playing the preseason, right?
Yeah, he did. I just think that out of all the fixtures, I don't want to go with 5 defenders. In my first game week, and out of all the defenders, I think the only tricky fixtures is Manchester United's.
But again, like I went with 5 because like I couldn't like think of dropping anyone. Like all 5 and like even Manchester United is relatively like normal game week we will pick that like 9 out of 10 times. But like this time, right, like the other 4s are much more easier. So we always think like we have to like. So I've gone with 5, hoping like I get 5 clean sheets minimum. It's a risky approach. It's a risky approach. I agree, but like I'm okay. Like, see, if you are to take one guy out of this, right, I will also take Shaw only out because the other 4 has like even more better fixtures.
Correct. I just want to observe like how United perform. I think big teams usually, other than the Manchester City team, obviously they usually start off a little slow. So I just like want to see like how Manchester United get started. So no specific reason to keep Shaw out, just that I had to go with the 4-4-2 formation. So he moves back in like next game week onwards. So yeah, that's there.
And like Fernandes, Salah template things, and I like Brownhill pick. Like see, out of all the 4.5, right, there are many people who are like regular starters to give you 2 points. But like Brownhill is one guy who will give you like a lot of assists too, compared to the other 4.5 guys. So I like this pick. Like not many people take it, but I like this pick because initially when I was thinking 4.5, he was the first choice pick like for me always. See, in Fantrax kind of scoring or Togo kind of scoring, you might have like different people like in that bracket like can be getting more points. But like in FPL kind of strategy, right? Like he will get you more points than say Bissouma or like players like them. So let us come to your differentials in midfield. Harvey Barnes and Riyad Mahrez. Like why like pick them? Mahrez even in particular is a rotational risk. So why have you gone with both those guys?
Yeah, Mahrez, there's a reason behind Mahrez being in there. One of the reasons is that he has done exceedingly well in preseason. And you double that up with the injuries to Foden and KDB. So it's sort of, even Grealish and Sterling, they are coming back from the Euros. So Mahrez, he has got the legs on him. I see him starting at least the next 4 game weeks. And that is, as long as I want him for. I do not intend on keeping Mahrez in my team for a long time. I think Lukaku would be priced at somewhere around this price point, 9.5 maybe. So the other thing that I could have done is, probably downgrade Mahrez to someone like Rafinha or Buendia and or or even say Benrahma. So and what I could have done is probably upgrade Brownhill or Obafemi to a better, forward. Say I could have got Tony and Buendia in instead of having Mahrez and Obafemi. But I would like going forward 2-3 game weeks down the line, I would be inclined to have Lukaku in my team. So this allows me to make like a direct swap there. So I think just because of the price points, I don't want to change the other combinations a lot. This is sort of a placeholder for the 3-4 game weeks. Mahrez starts. Maybe he's on penalties as well, given that KDB is not around. So yeah, that's the reason for picking him. And Barnes, because he has done exceedingly well again in preseason. I think today there was a presser from Rogers wherein he said that he might not be ready for a start yet. So that is the only, Barnes is probably the only player that I'm not really sure of now. So out of all of these players, I think he's the only one that I could change just before the game week starts. We have a few options. We have Rafinha in the same price bracket. We have Zaha. We have, I think there is Benrahma, who is again going into a lot of drafts. So I could do that.
Because of Lingard not signing to West Ham.
Yeah, because Lingard is not signing. Benrahma has been playing in that position, and he's been doing well as that's there for everyone to see. Yeah, so he might come into the team. Even like West Ham, I think they have a few decent fixtures as well at the start of the season. I think they don't play a lot of top teams for the first 10 game weeks. I think they mostly play just 2 or 3 of them. So yeah, I could double up on that, or I could, if I'm getting Benrahma in, then that allows me to swap Antonio for Lukaku and maybe downgrade Mahrez to someone else going forward. So 2-3 game weeks, I'm thinking of just 2-3 game weeks. Don't want to play my wild card too early. So these are the 2-3 players that I would be mixing and matching around, who have the same price point and could fit Lukaku in as well.
The other way to see that is right. Like I'm able to link few more things like with this strategy. Like say for example, Kane signs to City.
Yeah.
When he plays for City, he's definitely going to score huge points. There's no
doubt
about that. And like you can upgrade, like say Antonio or like things to Kane by reducing Mahrez. Like after a few game weeks, like when he goes there also by the end of the transfer, like it all works out. The other thing where it can also work out is like Sancho is at the same price, and like if he is as having a blast in that region, right? Like maybe in that case, right? Like you can swap Mahrez to Sanchez later on, and like in the first 3 game weeks they also play against Arsenal, where Mahrez generally plays well. So in all the ways, right? Like this looks like a very good differential pick for me.
Yeah. And I think I might actually what I was planning is I might do a Barnes to Benrahma and keep 1 million in the bank. That also allows me to if Lukaku has a cold start, doesn't really hit the ground running, then I would just do a Mahrez to Son swap to a Tottenham excellent fixtures after this. So meanwhile, obviously Harry Kane's future gets decided. I obviously becomes a little difficult to have Salah, Fernandes and Harry Kane in the team. So I can have Son and then, swap one of those two out and bring Harry Kane in. So yeah, that is, I didn't want to have a lot of lot of people on the bench because I already have Brownhill, who will give me for sure 2 guaranteed points, right? Each game week. If someone gets injured or someone doesn't start or something like that, then yeah, all of my 5 defenders are starters. So for at least for the time being, they are. So I'm sorted that way. Just Obafemi is just the one who doesn't get any points. So I'm not too worried about that.
No, but we never know. Also, like again, for the first few game weeks, he might play like with no Ings there now, and like Armstrong has just come in. Like so, he might play like a few game weeks. We never know. But like as you rightly said, like even if he doesn't play, there is no impact. But like there is a chance he might play also.
Yeah. I'm not really banking on that. I did an analysis of my previous 2 seasons. I saw that usually it's a defender who is my who's just occupying a place in my squad, the cheapest defender that is possible, and I sort of never play him. So it doesn't really affect my game week strategies. It hasn't, at least yet, affected my game week strategies. I rarely have all 13 playing people. So yeah, one of them is bound to be just a placeholder.
Let's see again, like even if you get a -4 and bring somebody in also, right? It doesn't add value. These 2 points are enough. And like I also have the same strategy. Try to have like just 17 points spent on the bench, like 4 for a goalkeeper, 4 for a defense, and like 4.5 and 4.5 for midfielder and a striker, wherever possible. And then like, or like it could be like say 2-4 defenders to like whatever formation you want to play with. So try to have it like somewhere between like in that way, right? You can get like 12 and then let's say 16.5. So somewhere between 83 to 83.5 million on your starting level, and try to get as many big people as you can. In that way, right, like you'll be able to get more points. So I am okay with that strategy. But like speaking about your strikers, like when you talk about Buffalo, like why Antonio? Like when you have like Richarlison at the same price, or like who's that guy? Like Chris Wood, I think it's at the same price. And you also have like Raul Jimenez for Wolves at the same price. Before his injury, he was like scoring goals like for fun, like in this pre-season before or even in that season. Like so, why Antonio in that price range? And similarly, why Ings when you have Bamford who was at a peak form like last season, as well as like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, like who was like one of the best fixtures of all the teams.
Okay, I'll start off with Ings first. So I had a choice. The only 2 considerations that I had was Ings and Bamford at that price point, based completely on the fact that the fixtures for Ings is much better, and that was my reason for selection of Ings. I think he's just like a natural goal scorer. Leads to create a lot of chances, but I think with Buendia in the team, playing 2 forwards up front with Watkins, maybe that is what has been hinted by Villa's manager. So maybe all those things could be like a contributing factor. So I just saw that the fixtures when it came to like Patrick Bamford, the first, I think the first
4 or 5
weeks
he had, like it's tough.
For them. It's really tough for them. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin, obviously he was an option, but because he's not starting the first game week, he might not start. So it's a little iffy there. So that was the reason I didn't consider him. I can't have like an 8 priced striker not starting. Can't afford that. So I didn't consider DCL. I think DCL has very good fixtures. So if he gets into the team, then and Ings isn't doing a lot, then maybe that there's a direct swap there.
So again, the same point to touch back again. Like you wanted Lukaku, right? Like say, so Lukaku might not play the first game week, like most probably because he might not be registered by that time. Say second or third game week only is when like he will be back, like starting to play. In that sense, right? Like the first 3 fixtures of Aston Villa are really good, and the next 4 are difficult. Anyhow, after game week 3, you'll have to like ship out things. So it could be Lukaku, it could be DCL, or like whoever is like playing good. Like you can find that, and then like you can like bring them. Like it's easy to move from like say 8 to 9 or even 8 to 8. Like but like say 7.5 to 9, sometimes it's tricky with the funds like to be managed, or like you'll have to do more than like 2 transfers like in a single game week where you'll have to do a -4. So that way, right? Like it actually makes sense.
Yeah, there is also a Tony train right now. I am not on board that straight away. I think I'll just observe how he. The fixtures are good. Brentford fixtures are extremely good.
One thing like you might miss out there if you're waiting is he is the penalty kick taker, and the first game they play is against Arsenal, and you know how the referees are like VAR. Does help the oppositions of Arsenal to get a penalty. So Brentford will get maximum points on the first game week if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, that is actually why I just want to observe, because I can straight away make a swap. As I said, I'll probably get Benrahma instead of Barnes. So if I already have a double West Ham, I can just straight away swap Antonio for, this guy, Tony. And then I have enough money for Lukaku. I have enough money for Son. I have enough money for, whichever way I want to go after for the first couple of game weeks. So not on board the Tony train for the first game week, but I will have a very close eye on him, very, very keen eye on him. There are very, very interesting, strikers available at this price point. There is Iheanacho available. I think even Cavani
Xhaka is also like
yes.
but I
Even
don't think like there'll be a good option because like I still expect like say with Barnes like getting fit very soon like I expect Leicester to play with a single striker, and if it is going to be a single striker, it has to be Vardy. No other option there.
Correct. Yeah. Obviously, Vardy will be the first choice. Iheanacho and Vardy did actually play together, but then that was when Maddison was missing. So now with Maddison coming back, maybe it's Perez who misses out. That is, he's the obvious choice to probably miss out. But then Maddison isn't exactly as productive on the wings as he is in the center of the field.
No, even without Maddison, right? Like say last year also again, like it was like Barnes, Tillmans, they were all getting injured at various times. When all of them are fit, right? Even like both Iheanacho and Maddison, like they were like considered surplus. So it's good like you avoided that thing. Like it's a risky thing. Like you don't have to like lose 1 point. Like they'll come as subs for sure, and like you lose like your bench 2 points also because of that.
Yes. Yeah, Richarlison was an option also, but he has just come back from the Olympics, so maybe there's a little bit of fatigue there. So I just didn't want to. Also, Everton haven't been, doing exceedingly well in the preseason.
Yeah.
So that is why that was one of the reasons why I went for Shaw over Deeney as well. There was sort of a choice there, but yeah, mostly owing to Everton's preseason form, I just went with Shaw.
Yeah, so at the moment, it is like Everton, Southampton, or the teams like you need to avoid completely.
Yes. You don't really know with Everton. You kind of know like what their starting lineups will be, but you kind of don't really know how they'll perform.
Yeah, you cannot trust them.
And with Southampton, you really don't know like what team I think the biggest person to be losing out on the Southampton team would be James Ward-Prowse, because maybe in FPL as well as on Fantrax. The reason being that Vestergaard would be at the end of most of his set pieces, and he would score a lot of points because Vestergaard would get those headers in on target, score goals or at least get a save from the goalkeeper, and that would get Vestergaard a few points. JWP a few points, but that is not happening. So I see JWP losing a bit of a shine this season.
We never know. JWP will have Watkins to do those headers too. From the rumors, whatever we are hearing, like Aston Villa might sign him too.
That could be true. But
then I don't know what will happen to Southampton. They already sold Bernard from the left back. Now this guy, and they have sold the best defender out of all their people. So I don't know.
I'm not really convinced that.
Thanks, Gagan. This is a completely again a team which followed the template, but not exactly too. There are a lot of good differentials here, and I like your thinking in many areas, where I have even shared immediately also how much I like that. So I think this might be a team which might surprise many people. It doesn't look those big teams, the kind of thing, but it doesn't look bad too. Such kind of teams are the team which can have a good start, because the first few game weeks, many people will not start. It is very much similar to the last few game weeks of the season, where we don't know who will start or what will happen. The same happens till most probably till the first international break, which coincides with the transfer deadline too. So I think this is going to be an interesting and fun team for me to watch out at least, how it is going to evolve kind of thing. So like thanks again for giving a lot of inputs to our viewers, like why you have taken such a decision on like some players. So thanks a lot for that, and like all the best for your success in this. I hope like you saw the podcast 3 where like we talked about the various prizes that will be like we are planning to give some like in between like prizes too, and like some season ending prizes too. So
Right,
let's
yeah.
see like how much successful you are, or like how many prizes you are going to win.
Sure. I mean, there's thanks for taking up this initiative. I think there's a lot of effort going on in the background, which we must appreciate. Especially like keeping track of all like who is going to score for 5 straight game weeks and all those things for so many different teams. I think it takes a lot of effort, which people might not realize. Yeah, I think it's great to be part of this particular league. I'm looking forward to it. I'll try to stay competitive throughout the season. So let's see.
Yeah, and please share this with your friends and others also, like family members, like who are all playing FPL, because it's like a
Sure.
chance for them also to win prizes here, and like share this podcast also with them. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much.